Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, here with some thoughts on George Groves signing with Frank Warren, as well as some thoughts on the EBU and Commonwealth Bantamweight title fight this weekend between Jaime McDonnell and Stuart Hall. But before I go further, just remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. First, let's talk about George Groves. I like the signing. I like it a lot. George Groves and James DeGale are two different fighters, right? James DeGale is a technician who can beat you from the inside out. He doesn't rely on hand speed or even foot speed, right? He's a guy who really is relying on being able to defend inside, tie you up, beat you up in close quarters. He knows all the tricks. Fighters like that, quite frankly, have longer careers. Think about the fighters who right now are making it happen in their mid-30s to mid-40s, right? None of those guys relies that much on foot movement. Most of them are deconstructionists, right? They're inside. They're trying to beat you up inside. So you have people like Bernard Hopkins, for example, making it happen in his mid-40s. You have Carl Froch, another guy who is not reliant on hand speed. Froch is not trying to be faster than you in the ring, right? Froch is relying on angles and things like that, right? The legs, to me, my opinion, perhaps controversial, are the first to go. Power's the last to go, right? If you're a great technical fighter who knows how to, slip shots and make things work inside, I believe your technique ages well. Now, George Groves, from what I've seen, is really more of an Andre Durrell type mover. He relies on his legs quite a bit, right? So I believe for George Groves, the future is now. In other words, he can't rely on being able to move like he moves right now in his mid-20s. He can't rely on being able to move like that in his mid-30s. Think about fighters in their mid-30s. They don't move like George Groves, right? His style is a young man's style. And so the future is now. He needs a promoter who is connected right now to make his career happen right now. He's not a fighter who can grow with a lesser known promoter. He needs someone who, quite frankly, is doing championship fights right now. And let me just say, just looking at the guys who Frank Warren has at 168, he has the Gale. At 175, he has Nathan Cleverly. He has many others, right? Just looking at the number of guys Frank Warren has, I think it's a great move by George Groves, given his fight style, to sign on with a big-time promoter. At a minimum, there are no impediments between a Groves-DeGale rematch if the two guys keep winning. More importantly, he's going to get showcased on Frank Warren fight cards. And of course, Frank Warren loads up his fight cards with fighters from several different divisions. And I think that when you're a young fighter, your top priority, besides making money, because it is prize fighting, you want to get paid. This is a dangerous short-term sport, right? Definitely a short-term career. Other than making money, I believe your other priority has to be getting exposure, and Frank Warren is going to give him that exposure. So I understand he walked out on Haymaker. David Haye is one of my favorite fighters, but what can I say? Going to Frank Warren, I think, is going to help him in the short term, and I believe that's what he needs. Now let's talk about this EBU Commonwealth Bantamweight title fight. Stuart Hall is interesting. If an opponent is throwing an excellent jab, which is what Jaime McDonnell has, right? I believe an opponent has one of two choices, right? They could either come forward like Joe Frazier did to Ali, like Mike Tyson used to do, slip the jab, right? Literally duck it, come forward, be inside, push the issue, smother the jabber, right? One way to beat a jab is to literally get inside of it where the guy doesn't know what to do next. Unfortunately, that's not Stuart Hall's technique. He does the other technique, which is to take a step back, right? He, to me, is a guy who, when his opponent throws a jab, he uses his feet for defense. He takes a step so he's outside of the jab. Now, that's effective, right? You're not getting hit with jabs as long as you're outside of the jab. But that has major consequences on the betting action in this fight, because I believe Jaime McDonnell should win the early rounds, right? Stuart Hall, in my opinion, won't be able to get inside until Jaime McDonnell lowers his jab, right? If McDonnell has the stamina to keep that jab popping for all 12 rounds, I don't think Stuart Hall will be able to do much. And keep in mind, we've seen this precedent before. Devin Alexander, for example, when he was a little bit younger, could keep his jab popping the entire fight. If Jaime McDonnell does that, he dictates the action in this fight. As it is, if the fight goes to decision, I believe the only fighter who can win it is Jaime McDonnell, because McDonnell should be able to sweep the early rounds, right? He's going to have the greater volume. He's going to have the better long-range game dictated by his jab, right? Hall, to get inside, is going to have to wait for an interval between McDonnell's jabs. And looking at his style of fighting, I'm not sure if he has the foot speed to leap inside in between jabs. Let me also point out, too, that the fight, in my opinion, is going to go several rounds. So I'm actually inclined to take the over in the fight. Simply because, again, I don't think Stuart Hall is going to be able to get inside. I've looked at his video. I don't see him crouching like Joe Frazier or crouching like Mike Tyson. You know, the guys who, are able to get inside on a jabber usually crouch and have quick cat-like moves, or some guys will literally knock that jab aside. They're actively doing things to slip the jab, right? Stuart Hall, to me, strikes me as a passive guy who's going to have a myriad of problems. So, I believe the casino has priced this correctly, right? Ideally, what I would like to do is to take the over, which would give me both guys late, straddled against Hall by KO, right? Simply because Hall is the heavier puncher. There's a lot to hit on Jaime McDonnell. It looks like if you get inside on Jaime McDonnell, it looks like he's open to hooks, right? And Hall throws pretty good hooks. But the problem is the casinos have priced this correctly, so you can't take that straddle, right? The only straddle I see out there that's feasible, and we're in the real world where casinos try to make it tough for you, so you're going to have to take risks, right? The only straddle I see that's feasible is Hall by KO at plus 450, straddled against McDonnell by decision at plus 150, right? And so unless you're a hardcore gambler ready to take big risks, because keep in mind, anytime you're taking a guy to win by decision, by definition, that guy's going to have to go 12 rounds, right? He's going to have to go the entire fight. And if anything happens during the fight, let's say he actually busts up Stuart Hall, and Hall can't get inside, then Hall starts getting hit with power punches, set up by the jab. If McDonnell were to win this fight inside of the distance, unlikely given a less than 40% KO ratio, but possible, understand you lose that bet if your straddle is McDonnell by decision. So understand it's a very high risk play, right? If I were to bet this fight, and I'm staying away from it, but if I were to bet this fight, the straddle I would look at would be Hall by KO, straddled against McDonnell by decision. Let me just say, if it goes to a decision, I simply don't see Hall winning the fight. I believe Hall's only chance in this fight is by KO because I think McDonnell's jab is going to dictate, right? Hall has shown me nothing on tape that has indicated that he'll be able to get inside of McDonnell's jab early. So I'm expecting McDonnell, let's say in the first 6 rounds, to win at least 4 of them, right? I'm expecting McDonnell to have a multi-round lead going into the second half of the fight. And let me just point out, too, if McDonnell wins more than 4 of the first 6 rounds, keep in mind there's a huge difference between being up 4 rounds to 2, where the other guy has to win 2 rounds to catch up, and being up 5 rounds to 1, where the opponent is literally 4 rounds down, right? If McDonnell wins 5 of the first 6 rounds, in my opinion, this fight is over. If you're betting this fight in real time as the fight takes place, then at that point you'll know Hall's only chance of winning is by knockout. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here on YouTube. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. All I ask is that after the fight, win, lose, or draw, you stop by with your post-fight thoughts. Thanks for watching.